prayers.
I will request everyone also to recite along.
ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदाङ्कितम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां सग्राजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखं नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाशताय देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So today's topic is Bhagavad Gita, essence of Bhagavad Gita, topic second part. So I will like to start with our eternal existence. Actually, a true nature as spiritual beings is eternal and imperishable. We cannot be threatened by non-existence, for our core identity is beyond the temporary material realm. So we know that we are souls, and our true nature is spiritual. But why do we find ourselves situated in this material world, which is described as dukhalayam ashashvatam, a place of miseries and impermanence? If we are truly a spiritual being, then why do we suffer in this material creation? Actually, we have fallen into this material creation which is asat. That means that it does not truly exist, is where we currently reside. It is temporary. So we should realize that we have to escape from this cycle of suffering and go back to our spiritual home and awaken our spiritual identity. This quest for spiritual knowledge is the true purpose of human life. Inquiry into existence. The sincere seeker. So among many peoples, they're suffering. We all are suffering, but among them, only few inquire about the nature and the existence and about their pain. So these are the proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. Brahma Jigyasa, the sincere quest for knowledge of the absolute, known as Brahma Jigyasa, is the foundation of human fulfillment. Without this inquiry, all other activities are ultimately futile. So,
Continue, Gansh.
yes, Prabhuji. So, the Brahma Jigyasa is the sincere quest for the knowledge of the Brahman, of the Paramatma, and it is known Brahma Jigyasa. And without this, the human life is not meant for it. The human life is meant for this only. The importance of respect. The student must also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as exemplified by Arjuna. This reverence is essential for receiving the profound wisdom of Gita. Before starting Gita, we should have the respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. as Arjuna had. This is the qualification of receiving the wisdom of Gita. The five basic truths. Bhagavad Gita explains about the five basic truths. The first, the supreme controller. The Bhagavad Gita expounds upon the science of God, the supreme controller, and the constitutional position of the living entities, the jivas, who are controlled by the Almighty. So Bhagavad Gita explains about the supreme controller Krishna, who who control who controls the jiva at and is not controlled by anyone, material, nature, and time. The text also discusses the nature of material nature or prakriti and the role of time in the cosmic manifestation. These fundamental truths provide a comprehensive understanding for our existence.
So this is the second and the third truth.
Yes.
Correct? You can number it so everyone understands. Fine.
So the material nature is prakriti, which is the lower energy of the Bhagwan, and the role of the role of time is in the cosmic manifestation. Then fifth is karma. The Gita delves into the nature of karma or activity and how the living entities are perpetually engaged in various actions, reaping the fruits of their deeds. So the karma is called, it is karma. Karma is the action which living entity performs, and according to the actions, they reap the results of their action, good or bad.
So
They
what
are
are the five basic truths?
the five basic truths are supreme controller, jivas, material nature, time, and karma.
All right. Anything more to this?
Yes. Okay. The relationship between Ishvara and
So Akash, don't read the presentation. You can just summarize at your end.
okay.
Because we're running short of time now. Go ahead. What is the relationship between Ishvara and Jiva?
So there is a supreme Lord, Krishna, who is the greatest of all, and he is not controlled by anyone. Then the material nature is lower energy of Lord, and controlled by the Lord, like a wife is to her husband. The living entities, the jivas, are also the Shakti of Lord. They are the higher energy of Lord, and they are the part and parcel of the Lord.
So what is this low energy and the high energy? We'll discuss in Bhagavad Gita. But nonetheless, for the timing, they both are energies of the Lord, like this. So just read the titles for the nature of Prakriti.
Yes, nature of Prakriti, feminine nature,
Okay.
eternal time, with three gunas.
So there are three attributes, which means it is controlled by the lords. One of the factors is Kala, and other thing is through Kala, all the different manifestations, permutation, combination occurs, and it has a concept of guna by which it controls and influences everything. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Karma and the material world. So the enjoying the fruits. So when we perform any action with intelligence and skill, we may enjoy the fruits of our labor, such as financial success. So we have a tendency to enjoy the fruits of our actions, suffering the consequences. But however, if our action is wrong, so we should suffer the painful results also, such as losing all our wealth. The law of karma. So this is the law of karma. where we reap the rewards or consequences of our own activities. The solution of Bhagavad Gita: purifying consciousness. The Bhagavad Gita teaches us that we must purify our materially contaminated consciousness to attain to happiness and fulfillment. Dovetailing with the divine. By aligning our actions with the will of the Supreme Lord, our activities become transcendental, free from the bondage of material nature. Bhakti, the loving devotion. This purified this state of consciousness is known as bhakti, is the ultimate solution offered by the Gita for escaping the cycle of suffering. So first we need to purify our consciousness to attain true happiness and fulfillment in our life.
How do you purify consciousness?
The Bhagavad Gita teaches us to purify our consciousness by association of devotees, book reading, spiritual book reading, chanting, and diet.
Krishna Prasad. Okay. All right. So that is Bhagavad Gita solution. Is there anything else to this, Nikash?
Thank you.
Haribol, thank you so much. Wonderful. So we hope we'll have other participants also ready. This was the second part of introduction. First was done by Grisha, second is Akash. Both of you, please send your presentation. We'll share it on the group. Okay, Grisha and Akash, so that others can also see it. All right. So thank you all for joining in.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Akash. So last night, somewhere around 11:30, I woke up with the loud noise coming from the society around. I thought it's a Mangalati time, but I was amazed. Why would such a loud sound will come? Everyone is screaming and yelling. I'm not in the temple. Even in the temple, we don't scream like this. There was sound of celebration. And then when I came out of my room, then I saw other brahmacharis were also woken up. And I asked them what's going on. They said, "Oh, looks like India won the World Cup." And then I realized, oh, this was a celebration of the World Cup match. And then I was thinking, what's going to happen? Would we have a 6:30 attendance tomorrow? Are the kids going to be there, or they would have watched the match? So at least we have some kids here. So hopefully you all slept well in time, and you all are present here. Thank you all for joining in. So as you said, part of our program is to keep our cameras on. So before I start, I'd like to take a look on who all are present here today. So kindly switch on your cameras, everyone. And Mother Priyanka have shared the attendance link. So all of you kindly mark your attendance also. So we have Jisal, Mother Vijayashri, we have Krishna, Kartika, Palaka Prabhu, Gaurangi, Grisha, Pranav, Mother Suchitra. Her son should be there actually. And then we have Prisha and Pats, Mother Priyanka, Ekansh, Pradad, Vardha, Palash, Pali, Hare Krishna. From Australia, right? Our Himanshu daughter. Correct? Hey, you've grown up. I'm seeing you after years. I was wondering, it looks very familiar. Name sounds very familiar. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, nice. You've grown up. You're grown up now. Okay, good. Pranav, Mother Aradhya. There is somebody called a Zoom user. Okay. Janvi, we have some Chinese fellow also, Mr. Oppo. Then we have Daita, Rupa, Prisha, and Path, and Darshil. All right. Thank you all for joining in. So today, before I begin, yeah. So this is probably let me just take a look. This is the fourth session, fourth meeting we are having on this topic of Gita essence. In the very first session, we talked about context versus pretext. Why did Lord Shri Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita? What is the message of Bhagavad Gita all about? Bhagavad Gita is a book of dharma. Krishna wanted to establish dharma. And how did he establish? By giving us the teachings of dharma. what is dharma, defining dharma, and what is the ultimate dharma. So Bhagavad Gita was spoken not just to help Arjuna, but Bhagavad Gita spoken was largely for all of us because the knowledge of or the wisdom of yoga given in Bhagavad Gita was lost. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishaya viduhu sakala neha mahata yoganashta parantapa. So Lord Shri Krishna took this as an opportunity to establish. So question arises, what was the qualification of Arjuna which qualified him to receive this wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna says is the most sacred, the most pure, Rajavitya Rajabhagyam Pavitram Idamuttamam, Bhagavad Gita 9 chapter verse number 2, like this. So in the second session, we begin to talk about character versus caliber, and we referred 13th chapter verses 8 to 12. Krishna says to Arjuna, Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti in 4th chapter verse number 3, you're my devotee and you're my friend. What does it mean? Krishna explains in the 13th chapter verses 8 to 12, process of knowledge, jnanam. How do we understand the complicated subject matters of Vedic sciences? Veda means everything, material knowledge and spiritual knowledge. Everything that we need to know to live our life, to fulfill our basic requirements, to grow and to succeed, and also to cross beyond this material world to enter into the spiritual world, or what we call as moksha in a technical term. All that is provided in Vedic sciences. So, what is a qualification prerequisite to receive that knowledge? We probably discussed the example of Eklavya, why Dronacharya didn't accepted him. Similarly, we discussed about probably Karna also. Karna was also not. So when it comes to education, it is not that anyone and everyone can take. Yes, education should be a birthright, which is no doubt. It should be given for everyone. But again, there could be certain hierarchy to understand who is qualified for certain kind of education. Just like when you graduate from your 12th standard, or let's say after 10th standard, it's not that because you demand you want to, study in science stream, you will get a science stream. You have certain qualification. You should have scored certain amount of minimum percentage in your PCM, physics, chemistry, math in 10th class to be able to get entry into the science stream in 11th standard. Like that, we discussed. So here in Vedic sciences, it is not your caliber, it's not your percentage, it's your character. Who is qualified to receive Dharma? We talked about those qualities. We introduced those qualities. And in the third session, we continued the discussion where we talked about some of those qualifications like humility versus pride, non-violence, tolerance, cleanliness, saucham, and sense control. And to explain about the important concept of sense control, I showed you a small video of marshmallow test at the end of the discussion. All right. So let's continue with our today's discussion. We're going to start with the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, where Dhritarashtra begins the conversation. Very interestingly, Bhagavad Gita begins with Dhritarashtra Vacha. So let me give you a little background and then we'll start with it. So chapter 1 is titled as Sainya Darshan. By the way, how many of you kids are having a copy of Bhagavad Gita around you? Can you please raise your hand if you have a copy of Bhagavad Gita? Or else I'll have to show that. Those of you cameras around, please give me a thumbs up or thumbs down to understand you have a copy of Bhagavad Gita with you. So many of you have your thumbs up, okay? So some of you don't have. So next time onward, please have a copy of Bhagavad Gita so you become a little familiar when we flip through the pages of Bhagavad Gita, all right? I'm pretty sure you'll have a copy of Bhagavad Gita at home. If not, get it from the nearest center or else order it at Amazon. Okay. For the time being, I'll definitely show it on Vedabase. So going back to my discussion. So the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, there are 18 chapters and each chapter is titled. This is all classification is done by Srila Vyasdev, and later on over the line in Parampara, Acharyas gave the different titles to it. So Sanya Darshan, what is Sanya Darshan means? I'll talk about it in next session. But let's begin the introduction. So the chapter 1, which is titled as Sanya Darshan, is also called or is also an introduction to the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. Interestingly, Bhagavad Gita begins with Dhritarashtra. What is the meaning of Dhrit, Rashtra? Dhrit means, I'm pretty sure you all kids would not have seen the ads, but we all grew up seeing the ad of a Fevicol company. Fevicol, what, a sticky substance it makes. And in its advertisements, you will always have different scenario. And one scenario would be a person comes to sit on the chair and somebody has put a Fevicol on the chair. And the moment person sits on the chair, now he's stuck to the chair because of the Fevicol. And like that, this is what it means by, getting stuck to it. So dhrita, whenever I hear the word dhrita reminds me of this advertisement of Fevicol company. So dhrita means who is determined. Dhrita also means chupkawa, attached. And what is the full name? Dhritarashtra, which indicates his personality was very attached to his position of being a king. That's the whole idea about Dhritarashtra. So Bhagavad Gita begins with talking about of an attachment of an individual to his position and how that attachment to his position in the society causes destruction of the society. It was his stubbornness and deep-rooted material aspirations which led to the great fratricidal war at Kurukshetra. Fratricidal war means war between the family. He acted like a mafia don. What do you mean by mafia don? They don't act in public. They will have somebody else in front do the things. Similarly, Dhritarashtra acted like a mafia don who would get things done behind the scene. And his puppet was his son Duryodhan. And both of them, their aim was one, to serve the kingdom of Pandavas. Kingdom as well as the kingship that belonged to Pandavas, particularly Yudhishthira Maharaj. And therefore, all through their life, they made several attempts to usurp the kingdom. And as we know, they were thrown out of the kingdom. Pandavas had to go into the exile in the forest for 13 years. And finally, when they completed the 13 years, and it was as per the condition they were supposed to receive their kingdom, Duryodhan blatantly said, nothing doing. We will not give you the kingdom back. And Dhritarashtra supported that. How Dhritarashtra supported it? By not taking the action against the misdeed of his son. By not taking the right action, he, without doing any action, supported the Duryodhana's plan. Therefore, several attempts were made at the side of Pandavas to resolve the conflict. So much so, even Krishna personally went to Hastinapur to resolve the conflict and ask, if not the whole kingdom, at least give 5 villages to Pandavas so that they can practice their swadharma. They can practice their duty. But Duryodhana said nothing doing. He rejected the peace proposal by the lords, and then there was no other option. If dharma had to be established, if one has to do his rightful duty, and if other person is obstructing it, not allowing that to happen, Srila Prabhupada calls us as an act of violence, and violence meets to violence. And now Pandavas had to raise a war, had to declare a war against the Kauravas to protect and defend their rights, which Duryodhana was preventing them to exercise it. Therefore, the armies of Pandavas and Kauravas had assembled to fight with each other. And it was at this time that Dhritarashtra, while sitting at his palace at Hastinapur, inquired from Sanjaya about the scene of battlefield, and thus he spoke. Now, what is happening here is the war is happening, about to begin at Kurukshetra, and the Dhritarashtra is sitting at Hastinapur. A day before the war began, Dhritarashtra's father. Does anyone know who was Dhritarashtra's father?
Vyasdev.
Yes, thank you. Dhritarashtra's father was Vyasadev. He had come to the assembly of Hastinapur to meet with Dhritarashtra and make a final attempt to give a good sense to his son Dhritarashtra so that he can understand the consequences are not going to be good for anyone if they enter into the war with the Pandavas. And Vyasadev really talked with Dhritarashtra, tried to convince him this is the wrong course of action. You're not performing your duty as a king. You're becoming too attached to your son, and you would become the cause of the whole destruction, etc., etc. And then the Dhritarashtra said, "Oh, what can I do, my father? This is the will of the destiny. The destiny has been made. This is the providence. The Lord wants to this war to happen. Nobody can change the destiny. I am helpless in the face of destiny," and began to make excuses, particularly use destiny as an excuse to cover up his crimes. At that point of time, Vyasadeva became frustrated and he thought, he's using philosophy to defeat philosophy. There's no point of discussing with him, and he began to walk back. And he was about to exit the assembly hall. Then at the last minute, he turned around And he thought, Vyasadeva, well, this rascal is sitting here in the palace, enjoying his life, not knowing how people are losing their life at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So, why don't we do one thing? Why don't I give this blind guy or blind man a vision? If in case he will see through his own eyes the destruction of everyone at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, maybe he will get some good sense and he will change his decision. So, as I said, Dhritarashtra, I want to bless you. Dhritarashtra asked, my dear father, what blessing do you want to give me? And Vyasadevji said, I want to give you the eyesight with which you can see the war. And Dhritarashtra was a smart guy. He understood why Vyasadeva wanted to give him the vision. And Dhritarashtra said, no, my dear father, what will I do knowing of this, what is happening on the battlefield? I don't want to see it. I don't need it. And Vyasadeva understood, he's a smart person. He knows why I'm giving the vision. But then Vyasadeva said, all right, if you don't want to have the vision, let me give this vision to Sanjaya. Let him narrate to you the audio, the incidents of the battlefield. And like that, Srila Vyasadeva blessed Sanjaya with Doordarshan. We have this Indian, what do you call as broadcast or the channel by the name of Doordarshan. So the Doordarshan word comes from this incident where Srila Vyasadevji blessed Sanjaya while sitting in Hastinapur, which is Meerut. If you understand the geography, was sitting at Meerut. He was able to see without 4G, 5G telecommunication, satellite telecommunication. He was able to see without dish TV. He was able to see everything happening miles away at a place called as Kurukshetra, which is today is in Hastinapur. And with that as a little background, that's how Bhagavad Gita begins. And this is the first verse. So I'll request all the kids, please unmute. Let's recite this verse together. Let me give this little bit of increase the size. All right, we'll recite together. Dhritarashtravacha
Dhritarashtra
dharmashetre.
Uvacha.
Okay, together. Okay, also no, not together. After me. Dharmashetre Kurukshetre
Dharmashere Kurukshetre.
Samaveta Yutsavaha. Sorry to interrupt here, but some of you is having a little disturbance in your line. I'll request you to mute whoever is having a disturbance. I will repeat again. Dharmashetre Kurukshetre
Dharmashere Kurukshetre.
Samaveta Yutsavaha.
Samaveta Yutsava.
Mama Pandavaschaiva
Mama
Gadam
Pandavasya.
Seva
Kimmapurvata Sanjaya.
Ima Purvata Sanjaya.
So let me teach you a little bit of Sanskrit here. Dhritarashtra Vacha. Words spoken by Vacha spoken by Dhritarashtra. What did Dhritarashtra said? At Dharmashetre, everyone kindly mute yourself back. Go, Ranga. Be attentive to the program and kindly mute when your participation is done. So, Dharmashetre Kurukshetre. Dharmashetra refers to Kurukshetra. So, Dharmashetra Kurukshetra. What is this land of Kurukshetra? The Dharmashetra. Close to 44 years ago, which means when Krishna was around 89 years old, Arjuna was also 89 years old. Around 44 years ago in his life, which means around 45 years ago, or when, oh, sorry, at the age of 45, when Krishna was 45 years of age, at that point of time, all the Pandavas, Kauravas, Yaduvamsha, everyone had assembled at Kurukshetra for almost 3 months to 4 months, or maybe more, for a big celebration. It was a solar eclipse. It was a special occasion, and they all had come over here to perform what you say, religious oblations like that. And for long months, sacrifices and many rituals were performed. And not only this, Kurukshetra has its own history, where in the past, this land had been utilized particularly for performing the dharmic actions. Therefore, Dhritarashtra, knowing the history of this great land called as Kurukshetra, said Dharmashetra Kurukshetra. And then it said Samaveta Yusavaha. Samavet means they have assembled. Yusava for what? To fight. Now, just like last night, there was a cricket match between India and some team, whatever XYZ team was there. Now, if I ask any one of you, so cricket Kshetre, Durban, I believe, I don't know where was it. So I say cricket Kshetre Dharma, Durban Kshetre. Samaveta. Now, what would I say? Yusava. Yusava means they assemble to fight. And I'll say Samaveta Cricketaha. You know, which means it's a known thing. It's in India, and some country has a final World Cup final match in some particular country or some particular place, and they have assembled. Assembled for what? Of course, to play cricket. So that's how the Dhritarashtra is saying. Of course, they have assembled there to fight. Mamaka Pandava Shaiva, my sons and Pandu sons. Kimakurvata Sanjaya. So when they have assembled to fight, what did they do? What a silly question, isn't it? I mean, they have assembled to fight. Of course, they're going to fight, but there is a hidden meaning behind it. So, what is that hidden meaning? I would give that as a homework to all of you, and I will request one of the students to give us the answer next week. What is the hidden meaning? Why did Dhritarashtra ask such a silly question? What my sons and Pandu sons are doing at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Why I'm calling battlefield? Because it is clearly mentioned they have assembled to fight. If they assemble to fight, of course they're going to fight. What does it mean by this? All right, so beautiful purport. It gives you a little bit of summary and a background of this discussion. But nonetheless, let's continue with the next verse. So, Mother Radha, Mother Priyanka, please mark the homework. We can post this homework on the group and ask for a volunteer who would like to give us an answer next time. You'll have to read the purport for it, okay? Let's go to the next verse. Please unmute. Let's recite. Sanjay Vacha
Sanjay Uvacha
Drishva tu
Sanjay
Pandavanikam
Drishva tu
Drishtvam
Pandavanikam
Pandavikum
Vyudam Duryodhanastada
Vyudam Duryodhanastada
Vyudhanastada
Acharayam Upasangamya
Acharya
Acharya Upasamvaya
Raja Vachanam Abraved.
Raja Vachanam Pravit.
So now Sanjaya, hearing the words of the Dhritarashtra, began to speak. And what did he speak? The Sanjaya said, O king, O Dhritarashtra, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Papa writes a beautiful purport. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion. He was sure that they could never reach an understanding with Pandavas. All right. Actually, you get an answer for my question in this purport. So please do read the purport to both verse number 1 and 2 to get the answer to the question that I raised for you. Let's go to text number 3. So Sanjay said, well, Duryodhana saw the military formation by the Pandavas. This is what he did. And then what did he do next is described in the text number 3. Pashyetam Panduputranam. Everyone.
Pashyetam Panduputranam
Acharya Mahatam Chamam.
Acharyam Mamati Chamam
Vyudham Drupada Putrena.
Vyudam Drupada Putrena
Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
Tava Shishyena Dhimata.
So Sanjay said Duryodhana saw the military formation and then he went to his teacher. What did he do after reaching his teacher? And he said, Duryodhana said, Oh, my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by an intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. So, who was the teacher of Duryodhana, to whom Duryodhana is speaking now? Please raise your hands so that I can call upon the participants. So everyone gets a fair chance. Who was the teacher of Duryodhana? Whom Duryodhana is addressing here? That Duryodhana went to his teacher. Who knows the answer? Teacher of Duryodhana. Okay. So fine. Shineyu. Please go ahead, Shineyu, if I'm calling out your name correctly.
Sir, is it Bhishma?
Bhishma was his great grandfather. All right. Mother Aradhya. Mother Aradhya has a hand up. Okay.
Is it Dronacharya?
Oh, okay. There's somebody else. I thought this is a Mother Radha. Okay. There's somebody else over here. Okay. Dronacharya. Thank you. Yes, that's the answer. So it was Dronacharya, and Duryodhana is speaking to Dronacharya. Let's continue our discussion here. Okay. Where it is. So who was this? Who was the son of Drupada to whom Duryodhana is addressing? Duryodhana is saying, "My dear Dronacharya, look at the military formation, expert military formation done by the Pandavas. It is the work of none other than your disciple, who happens to be also the son of Drupada." Who is this character being addressed by Duryodhana? There's nothing to worry if you don't know it. That's totally fine. I'm just seeing how much we are familiar with these characters, if in case you know of. Who was this child? Who was this person who was the disciple of Dronacharya and son of Drupad? Anyone? 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 So, my dear kids, my humble request, do read the purpose of the verses that we're reading here. All right, Akash, please go ahead.
Drishyadumna.
Drishya Dumna. All right. So that's a character here. You'll be meeting with a lot of characters here in this initial verses. Fine. Okay. And then let's come to text number 4. And after that, I'll give you the summary. Everyone, please repeat. Atra Shura Maheshasha.
Atra Shura.
Sorry. Atra Shura Maheshwasa.
Atra Shura
Bhimarjuna Samayudhi.
Bhima Samayudhi
Yudhano Viratascha.
Yuyudhano Viratascha
Drupascha Maharataha.
Drupadascha Maharata.
The following verses going to introduce many characters here. Now Duryodhana speaks. Here in this army, many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yudhana, Virat, and Drupada. So he began to boost the confidence or morale of his army and began to say, "Oh, don't be afraid looking at Bhima. Bhima is a mighty warrior. Arjuna is a mighty warrior. But look at the great warriors we have. We have Yudhana, Virat, and Drupada." Like this, he began to speak about. Oh, actually, yeah. So even though Drishyamna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military arts, there were many others who were causes of fear. So, yeah, like this, great fighters like Yudhana, Virat, and Drupada. Actually, these are the warriors at the side of the Pandavas. He's actually right now not boosting the morale of his army. He's just counting the great warriors from the Pandava side. Therefore, I was just wondering, Drupada and Virat actually were the in-laws for the Pandavas. All right, so he's saying not only Bhima and Arjuna, they also have great fighters like Yudhana, Virat, and Drupada. And then he was talked about his own warriors. Let's repeat the next verse. Let's take a look at the names of the warriors at the side of the Kauravas. Please repeat. Dushtaketu Chekitana. Kashirajascha Viryavan.
Virajascha Viryavan
Purojit Kunti Bodhascha.
Purujit Kunti Bodhascha
Shaibhyascha Narapungavaha.
Shaibhyascha Narapungavaha.
So he continues counting the great fighters. There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitan, Kashiraj, Purojit, Kunti Bhoj, and Shaibhya. All right, text number 6. Yudhamanyascha Vikranta.
Yudhamanyascha Vikranta
Uttamaujacha Viryavan.
Uttamaujacha Viryavan
Saubhadro Drupadeyascha.
Saubhadro Draupadeyascha
Sarva eva maharataha.
Sarva eva maharataha.
So Duryodhana is talking to his teacher Dronacharya and is counting the great warriors, Maharathis, who are part of Pandava's army. And here's another set of lists. There are mighty Yuddhamanyo, Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra, and also the sons of Draupadi. Son of Subhadra was Abhimanyu, and the sons of Draupadi. They all are assembled there at the side of Pandavas. And then text number 7, Duryodhana says, Ashpakam tu Vishishtaye.
Ashwakam.
All right, please try again. Ashpakam tu Vishishtaye.
Ashpakam tu Vishishtaye.
Tani Buddha Dujottama.
Tani Bodha.
Gani bodhati
Nayaka mam Sainyasya.
Nayaka
Smagnatham tan bravimite.
Magnatam tan bravimite.
And now he says, but for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, Dronacharya, let me tell you about the captains who are easily qualified to lead my military force. And from 8th verse onward, for the almost 6-7 verses, he will glorify his army. So I'll just take maybe 5 more minutes with all of your permission here. We got a little late in starting. So let me quickly pull out my presentation and let's summarize the subject matter here. So this is how the chapter 1 begins, with Dhritarashtra asking a question, Mamaka, Pandava, Shaiva, like this, and Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. So in the first 12 verses, Duryodhana actions are described. Verse number 1, Dhritarashtra spoke, and then Sanjay began to speak about the course of action taken by Duryodhana. So I believe I already had a question for you, and I have a second question here for you. You'll find the answers in the purport. And the second question for today, for all of you to find the answer and volunteer next time to give an answer, is why did Sanjay begin to describe the actions of Duryodhana's first and not describe the actions of Pandavas? He could have chosen to describe the action of Pandavas first. But why did he choose to ask, or why did he choose to describe the actions taken by Duryodhana? So I hope admins are marking this question so they're able to share it on the WhatsApp group later on. Okay, so these are the verses, and here in this verses we have read up to almost 7th or the 8th verse, and if you see in the next set of verses, you'll see Duryodhana focuses a lot on I and mine philosophy. And he will say, look at this whole army, they have all assembled for my sake and they're willing to die for my sake. He sounds like a jihadi here, establishing himself as the prophet or the Masiha, that he is the savior of everyone and he is the one who knows how to take them back to garden, and for my sake they're willing to die for anyone. This is how the radicalized people of jihadis talk about, which means selfish, self-centered. They don't care for anyone, but for their own selfish interests, they can destroy everyone. Look at my army, look at my skills, my diplomacy. Why diplomacy? He'll speak also because he had also actually taken up some people onto his side who were actually friends with Pandavas through his diplomatic channel. And an example is Krishna's whole army was assembled by the side of Duryodhana. So that could be the third question to figure it out. And third question for today's discussion is, how did Duryodhana got the whole army of Lord Shri Krishna, whereas Lord Shri Krishna was himself present by the side of Pandavas? So these are the three questions. So let's take a look at another set of things, what has been mentioned here. And then he talks about, what is the use of Krishna who will not fight? Look at the foolish Arjuna who chose Krishna. I got the Narayani Sena, such a huge count. I am really smart to get that Sena. Now, considering my power, Pandavas are doomed. And like this, in second verses to the 12th verse, Duryodhana's diplomacy as well as his fear is explained. All right. So I'll pause here because we have discussed enough verses for today. And these are the first 12 verses of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1. You got to read this, and I've given you some 3 to 4 questions. Maybe I can give you the fourth question for today. When you go through the remaining verses, which we didn't read due to time, which you all can read, we'll request the parents to help and read along with all of you. And the fourth question for today would be is about why there was a sense of fear in Duryodhana's language, which was evident from Duryodhana's speech. Why was he fearful despite having an army of the size, which was double the size of Pandavas? Duryodhana didn't only had a huge army, which was double the size of the Pandavas' army. He had warriors who can never be who never be killed. Imagine playing a cricket match, but the batsman you can never bowl out the batsman. It has been declared that the batsman will never be declared out. And such individuals were like, does anyone know who were the individuals by the side of Kauravas who just could not be killed, who were blessed that they cannot be defeated by anyone, who are blessed that they cannot be killed by anyone, who are blessed with Ichha Mrityu. They can decide and choose when they want to quit. Does anyone know who are the names of such individuals by the side of Kauravas? Any guesses? Any guesses? Okay, we have only one child raising hand. Okay, Prisha and Parth, let's hear from you. Can you?
Arjuna's teacher.
Huh?
Arjuna's teacher.
And who was Arjuna's teacher? Dronacharya. Okay, kids are starting up with Mahabharata here today. Probably they haven't seen the Mahabharata serial also so far. Mother Vijayashri, go ahead.
I think it is Bhishma, Prabhuji. Bhishma and Ashwatthama.
Ashwatthama wasn't blessed like that, but Dronacharya. Bhishma, Dronacharya, and Kripacharya. These are the 3 warriors who just cannot be defeated or killed like that. All right, so this was the thing. So despite having such a great warriors by their side, Duryodhana was fearful. So the fourth question for today, why Duryodhana was fearful? Mother Priyanka, were you able to capture the questions, please? Okay, thank you. We can post the question on the WhatsApp group. With that, we'll pause here for today. So these are the 4 questions. You will get the answers of it from the puppet. The homework is chapter 1, verses 1 to 12 for you to read. And if you wish, you can read along with your parents. Involve your parents also, and you can ask this question to your parents if in case you're confused about what's the right answer. Like this. And we also would need a volunteer to present next time to open the forum where you will have to speak of the third part of the introduction. So either you can volunteer now or else you can volunteer on the WhatsApp group later on and inform the admin, either Mother Priyanka or Mother Radha Aradhya like this. Okay, so thank you all for joining in for today's short discussion. Thank you all. Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.